Welcome to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere with your host, Chris Parker.
And welcome back to Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere. This is Chris Parker. And for this episode, which is episode number 101, I am going to interview myself or share some insights for myself without a guest. So there's no conversation this time. This is very similar to episode number 1, where I also interviewed myself. And so I thought, hey, why don't we make it a recurring theme for every 100th episode? I'll just chat with you a bit and let you know what's going on behind the podcast and what we've learned and where we're going. So first, some thanks. The huge thanks, meaning this would not be happening without him. Thanks goes to Christian Kniga, who is my friend and also the director that I produce feature films with. He has been the creative force behind graphics, sound, light, coaching me, helping me get started, directing me to slowly improve my performance. Sometimes with hilarious things and sometimes with just little nudges. I think with his expertise, that has been such an amazing gift to help me continue to learn and grow and develop and bring this to life. So this could not happen without Christian. Thank you so much. Also, thanks to, you, the people who are out there and giving feedback. Stephen, I know you're listening because as far as I know, you've listened to every single episode. You've got it on your RSS feed. Thank you to Angie, who posted recently that one of the episodes actually brought tears to her eyes. And, and thank you to the other people who I know are listening. And sometimes I hear about it that in the weirdest moments when people mention, oh yeah, on that conversation you had with so-and-so, I'm like, okay, you're listening to that. It's incredible. So just thank you so much. What have I learned is a question I hear a lot. I think there's maybe 3 key lessons if I sort of reflect back on all of them. One of the biggest lessons, which I had thought was true and I have proven to be true, is the people who are out there who aren't considering themselves gurus or experts, which is most of the people on this podcast, have incredible insights and incredible wisdom to share. And I am just so delighted that this is evolving into a platform for people to share their stories, to allow the rest of humanity, many of which are getting into gig economy or startups or many, many different people are making their impact in the life and fulfilling their needs in life as well, financially and otherwise, as being entrepreneurs. So definitely a big confirmation. What I've also discovered, and I guess I could have imagined it, but it really hit me, is the people that seem to be most successful in their business are not the ones who are aggressively focusing on sales. It's the people who are more really pushing their value or their capability or their passion, and they're more allowing people to buy. And that was just beautiful to see. What I can also see is sometimes I have people on who are earlier in their stage of development, if you will, and it's which is great, which is fine, and I would love it if even some people who maybe have failed in their endeavors were to join and share some of that. But it's really interesting to see how you can see if people haven't been able to really simplify their proposition or the reason for their being of their business, in early days, it's wobbly, it's chunky, it doesn't really flow, as opposed to some people who are just completely in the flow, like Steve and Graham from the House in the UK. Those are two episodes which really stick out. That those guys have been consulting for quite some time, and then they pivoted into really purpose-driven consulting, and they just exude all of it. It's just that is what they are. So yeah, every entrepreneur has a message from their learning and their wisdom. The clarity of the proposition and the passion, I think, definitely improves over time, mostly because I think people have exposed themselves to customers and prospects into the wild, instead of maybe just thinking about it in their head. The people that are most elegant with their story are the ones that are out in the market. And the ones that are doing really, really well are just leaning into that value and not really selling for the sake of selling. Am I satisfied? Absolutely. Meaning we're 100 episodes in. The reason for this is, on one hand, very selfish. I get to learn and discover, and I'm forever curious. And this is such an amazing way to engage and talk to people. So yes, for sure. It's also very satisfying because I use this not quite every day, but a couple times a week. I just did it yesterday or today, that somebody was asking me, what is Sullivan and Stanley? And I had the privilege of interviewing or having a conversation with Pat Lyons, the founder and CEO. And so I just sent that link. I said, this is Sullivan and Stanley. And I do that all the time. So people that are on, I'm using this as a connection tool. And that is something that I just so much love to do. Is it satisfying from a business development perspective? In a weird, indirect way, absolutely. Meaning, if I would have imagined a year ago, almost when we started, I would have hoped I would have been selling maybe more courses and some, online tools and stuff like that. But that hasn't happened, which is fine. But the types of contacts and projects that are coming in, more for the consulting and interim management side of my life, absolutely. This is keeping me top of mind. It is letting people know what I'm busy with, what kind of network I have, and these are all the things that I love to contribute. Based on my curiosity, my superpower of seeing patterns and simplifying and connecting. So love it. So now, what has gone wrong during the podcast? That is fun. So, as you know, if you've listened to more than one of these, we don't like to edit. So the things that most come to mind when we go wrong is the times when we've had to cut stuff out or chose not to. So phones ringing, people coughing, repetitively. I've had room service come in when someone was in a hotel. We've had, I still don't know if it was a bikini or lingerie of someone's wife walking in. It just hilarity happens. I've lost 3 episodes. So two of those 3, so Martin Lenz Fitzgerald and Hans van Dam, we have redone because I had done some episodes in person, and then the MacBook died. And so John van Rijswijk from his company, Retro Boz, which is Boz is in Bergen op Zoom, which is a city in the south of the Netherlands. He has an incredible 80s themed retro used vinyl store that is so cool. And we did a wonderful conversation in the store, and we lost it. So I still need to get that. I am in conversation with John, and the plan is when I go down to Bergen op Zoom, once we're able to again, we're also talking about, and we've arranged a surprise where I'll be interviewing a tattoo artist as well, live, and while that artist is working on me. So we're going to have some fun in the future. So that's fun. So now, how about some metrics? So I did some analysis. We've been 100 episodes in. 29 of those, no, 26 of those have been women. And so if I'm talking about everyday entrepreneurs everywhere, I am looking for the widest distribution of diversity, of different types of diversity. And so I have not been purposefully seeking men or women or otherwise. And I'm actually pretty happy, because my world is very IT and technical, that I have had enough or this many women. And I would like to balance that out. So if we get to 200 and 300, I would like to see a better distribution there. So I'm curious if there are women entrepreneurs out there who would love to jump on, or male entrepreneurs, of course. Let me know. 41 have come from the Netherlands, and 29 have come from the US. And that is not surprising because I'm from the US and I'm living in the Netherlands. So that makes sense. The weird one is number 3, South Africa, came in third with 8. And yes, I know a lot of people in South Africa. But that was really cool. And then there's been all of these, I have Dubai, Israel, Portugal, Sweden, Spain, Argentina, Vietnam, that I've only got like Belgium, 1 or 2 per. And I would like to get a broader geographic distribution over time. So I'm going to try to dial down the Dutch and American a bit, always open to exciting stories and learning, but really leaning towards further distance from me, at least from my homeland of the US and my home future of the Netherlands. 3 people had very curious geographies that they wanted to list. So one had, and this was Kevin Allen from OpenXO, nomad, because he's literally a nomad. He works all over the place. I think he was in Barbados when we talked, and but we just put nomad. Another person didn't want to be categorized really as anything, so she desired to be known as from Earth. And when we did the Movember campaign, which I'm really looking forward to doing again this year, we tagged that as just Europe, because he was just really, he had a European footprint, and we were really celebrating Movember Europe. And Movember, again, is the world's largest charity raising awareness for men's health, and men's health physically and mental health. So also looking to expand the footprint a bit, to see where else we can go and discover new and interesting and inspirational things. The distribution of types of companies, and so I had 50, and I just sort of arbitrarily tagged these. 58 of the people were, I would call, solopreneurs. So they were literally working for themselves as an entrepreneur, as a coach, consultant, something like that. 27 were, I tagged just as SME, small, middle-sized enterprise. So not themselves, had a small business doing something. 10, in addition to the SMEs, are clearly startups. These are companies that are self-identified as a startup, and they have a full intention of growing up and scaling up. I had, of course, the Movember charity that had a category of its own, and we spoke twice, so that has 2 points. And I had 1 student, and there was only 3 people who I categorized as being entrepreneurs within corporates. And so, that was really interesting to see. So as far as the industries or types of work, and again, this is kind of hard to, I guess, really categorize, but I had 45 in consulting, and a lot of those solopreneurs are consultants and coaches. Technology was 14, and entertainment was 11, and environment was 9. And so some pretty good distribution there. I think I have a lot of individual consultants, and I'd like to get a little bit more into people that are, because consultants, I'd love to have you on. And I would like, people who are really busy, maybe building products and services in some specific industries. And what I'm looking for in the future, not exclusively, but environment, education, and entertainment. So if there are people out there, my dream is, the perfect guest, if there is such a thing, is, a female from Asia who is doing has a mid-sized company in environmental services or entertainment. That kind of, who knows? I'm open to it all, and I'm starting to track more and more to see maybe where I can focus and be more purposeful. As far as like media performance and metrics, the actual subscribers and I need to get better on this. So if people know how to do this, please let me know. Subscribers and views or downloads of podcasts is elusive. What I think I'm doing is I'm getting it. It's really kind of hard to say, between 50 and 100, I think, per episode, as far as actually listens. However, because I've syndicated in so many platforms, I don't believe all the listenings are coming through, and certainly not the subscribers, because people subscribe to their individual, podcast platform, and I really just do not know how to track that stuff. What I can track is YouTube subscribers are around 200 and growing. We haven't really optimized for YouTube, so if you go to the YouTube channel, it's basically just the same thumbnail for every episode. But some people seem to like to watch there, and that's great. Instagram, we're at 178, Twitter 414, and on LinkedIn posts, it's really interesting. It really depends on the guest, or I don't know. Because the videos, we put these little clips of these teaser videos on LinkedIn, and I get between 200 and 800 views per post. And looking back, it was about the same when we were just putting the thumbnails as well. So we thought that we would get a better performance when we went video, but between 200 and 800 views per video post, I think it's quite nice. So people are paying attention, which is quite nice. Looking into the future, there's a couple of things we're working on. One is sound quality, because one of the issues is sometimes people are using the microphone of their laptop, and we're trying to figure out how to maybe even ship microphones, so then we can improve the sound quality. Who knows? As I mentioned, we're focusing a bit more on even more diversity of background, geography, gender, industry. And this goes against some of the rules of thumb in podcast land, where people say be very focused, niche, on point. Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere is really not that. We really want to go as wide and as broad as possible, and mostly for me, because I find that really interesting, and maybe you do as well. I am talking with an individual who can help with social promoting, because now that we have really established a lot of the mechanisms, I'll probably offload some of the work, meaning between Christian and myself, we do it all right now. So all of the social posting, all of the the podcast page making, all of that. I'm going to try to see if I can optimize that a bit further, and maybe get into using a virtual assistant or so. And what I'm really excited is we're going to be more meaningful about using the podcast to really celebrate the pursuit of simplicity. And very soon I'll be publishing the Simplicity Toolkit, which is the instructions and inspiration to use the Simplicity Scan, which is available at ebullient.com, as well as the first step of a 5-step simplicity sprint. And so in parallel to all these podcasts, I've been running different projects and having lots of consulting and coaching, which is based on this 15-point simplicity scan, where a large company or small company can reflect on how is their business performing, how is their business designed, is it feeling good for them, and most importantly, are they aligned with their leadership team or executive team on the actual state of the business and which specific levers are they pulling to accelerate and get some momentum towards the target that they're after. So really looking forward to that as far as, combining, the inspiration of a lot of these entrepreneurs, going a bit more purposeful into simplicity and getting better at our own, I guess, efficiency and outreach. So this is basically where we are. So learned a lot. Stuff went wrong. I think that, I believe the quality has gotten a lot better over time. I'm curious what you think. And it's, this is also just really a huge invitation to check in. So the way you can help, of course, is subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Listen to them. So the downloads count, comments count. So you can also get me on LinkedIn. So that is that for me would be an excellent way to engage. So if you're already following or if we're connected on LinkedIn, liking and comment on the podcast post there would be outstanding. And if you see episodes that people might like, just please forward along and share and enjoy. Of course, if you are an entrepreneur or an entrepreneur that is doing something very interesting, making an impact, sustaining your lifestyle by any definition, and I also include that as intrapreneurs in larger organizations. If you're an entrepreneurial spirit or one, and you think having 30 minutes on the Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere podcast would be delightful and inspiring, please reach out. You can get us really at ebullient.com. And if you go to ebullient.com/podcast, there's ways to contact us all over there. Just send me a message and we'll get back and schedule something very soon. So wrapping up, thank you everyone. Again, special thanks to Christian Kniga, the very talented film director, and as well as editor and sound designer and colorist, for making all this happen. This is just really so much fun. And I'm looking forward to, the next 100 episodes. And we'll have this kind of conversation on episode 201. So thank you so much for making this whole thing special and checking in along the way for Everyday Entrepreneurs Everywhere.
Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to the podcast on your favorite player and download the Simplicity Kit from ebullient.com.